Joel Embiid is the NBA scoring champ of this year and a front runner for MVP, and James Harden, a former MVP, is still a very dangerous player. So, how are the Raptors going to be able to win this series? Well, in today's video, we are going to discuss how the Raptors can stop both Joel Embiid and James Harden. Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? It's Jacob here, back with Amateur Hour Sports for another Toronto Raptors YouTube video. If you want the greatest coverage and analysis on the latest Toronto Raptors news, then you need to be subscribed to Amateur Hour Sports. This video, again, is powered by Betstamp. To ensure you're getting the maximum value out of your sports wagers, they tell you which bet site is offering the best lines for the game that you already wanted to bet on. Over time, as you find the best odds, you're going to significantly upgrade the amount of profit you're getting and maximizing, again, your value of your wagers. Use the link in the description to sign up to the Betstamp app today and use code RAPS on sign up to let them know that I sent you there. Well, let's get into our topic for today. Sorry about the background. I'm in a different room until Tuesday, so just bear with this. In the meantime, we are talking about the series ahead. Now, the Raptors, I give them a good opportunity to win this series, a very good opportunity to win this series. And on social media, I would say more of the buzz on the Sixers being able to win this series, but winning it with a lot of difficulty the Raptors are going to give them. Lots of people online, even NBA neutrals, are saying that the Raptors are going to win this series. But how they win this series, how they can win this series, is going to come down to their defense. Typically, when you're talking about an NBA playoff series, you usually say that the team with the best player on the court, the best player in the series, that team usually wins that series. And I think it's very fair to say that in the case of Raptors versus 76ers, Philly have the best two players in this series, Joel Embiid, an MVP frontrunner, that's no discussion, and James Harden. Maybe not for the way he's played this year compared to the way Pascal Siakam has played this year, but I think that, it's very fair for me to say as a Raptors fan that James Harden is the second best player in this series. So, consequently, the Philadelphia 76ers are favored to win this series, and the Raptors want to surprise them, pull off the 5-4 upset, which really isn't that uncommon. They are going to have to find a way to shut down both Joel Embiid and James Harden. At least, you can't really shut down players of that caliber. There's no shutting them down. There's no limiting them to 5 points. Maybe, we held Joel Embiid to 0 points just a few years ago now, but that's just very unlikely. You're not really going to get that out of Joel Embiid. But limit what those players can do. Can you keep them to like 45% shooting from the field for Joel Embiid? Can you keep James Harden maybe a couple nights to 40% shooting from the field? Limit Joel Embiid to 20 to 23 points. Limit James Harden to something like 17 points. That is absolutely what the Raptors are capable of doing. If they want to win this series, they're going to have to be able to do that in a couple of games. Not every game. You don't need to, win in 4 here, but Raptors, can they win 4 out of 7 games? 100%. Absolutely, they are capable of doing that. So, what are going to be the defensive schematics to play against Joel Embiid? We'll start with Joel Embiid, then we will transition to James Harden afterwards. Joel Embiid is the main threat. Joel Embiid is the biggest problem the Raptors are going to face in this series. James Harden, like I said earlier, isn't having his greatest season ever. Joel Embiid probably just had his best season to date. And how the Raptors are going to stop him? Well, we managed to do it throughout the regular season. In this series against the Philadelphia 76ers, Joel Embiid did not feature in one of the games, but the Raptors had a 3-1 record against that team. 2-1 record when Joel Embiid was playing. How did they manage to stop Joel Embiid in the regular season? In the second to last time we played them this season, so not the most recent time when we were at home, but away in Philly, the Raptors snatched a 93-88 victory, limiting that Sixers team with Embiid and with Harden to only 88 points. How did they do it? It was with stellar defense on Joel Embiid. It's not, again, about stopping Joel Embiid completely. It's about making his life difficult over the course of a 48-minute game. How we do that is, Nick Nurse puts everybody on Joel Embiid. The Raptors are not going to be afraid to double-team Joel Embiid, and if he's backing down, spinning in the post, we are not afraid to triple-team Joel Embiid. If the Raptors lose a game to the Sixers because a role player, let's say Georges Niang, for example, or Tyrese Maxey, who obviously isn't a role player, but one of those guys having a spectacular game, if we lose like that, Nick Nurse is going to accept that. If we lose because Joel Embiid and James Harden beat us up, that is not something that Nick Nurse is going to accept. So he puts the bodies on Joel Embiid, makes his life difficult, and even though Joel Embiid may score a lot through double coverage, through potentially triple coverage. What it's going to do is wear him down. Sure, in the first quarter, and we saw examples of this throughout the regular season. Sure, in the first quarter, Joel Embiid might beat us up. Sure, he might have 10 points in the first quarter. But as we continue to put the bodies on Joel Embiid, continue to really hold your ground, make him work for every single basket, that's going to make this 7-footer tired and more tired over time, more and more tired as the game is going on. So by the fourth quarter, this guy is gassed. And when Philly need him the most to get those points, maybe he's not as efficient as doing it as he was earlier on in the game. The Raptors are going to get a lot of stops. This was a prime example. Earlier in the season against the 76ers. As I mentioned, that 93-88 game. Joel Embiid tore us up early on in the game, but faded and continued to fade more and more as the game wore on. And that is just what the Raptors can continue to do. And as he's wearing down, and as you're throwing like Precious Achiuwa, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby on him in the post, life is going to be difficult. So the Sixers are also going to need a big series out of James Harden in order to get the win over the course of 7 games. So the Raptors, I feel like we've got great matchups for Harden. Obviously, there's some stuff that James Harden does that is just flat out unguardable. The step back three is one of the best moves in the NBA. He is great at drawing fouls, almost to a point where it enrages opposition fans, but that's what James Harden does. That's how James Harden puts up his points. But I have a very good amount of confidence with Fred VanVleet and his ability to defend players like James Harden. And I think I have a very, very good confidence right now in Gary Trent's ability to guard somebody like James Harden. I think that we're going to see a lot of Gary Trent on James Harden, a lot of Fred VanVleet on Tyrese Maxey. You know, Gary Trent is somebody who's very aggressive with his defense. He's a very high risk, high reward type of defender. He'll reach in, try to get the steals, try to disrupt plays, more so than being more conservative and making the player force of a bad shot. Sure, he can do that, but he is a high risk, high reward type of defender. Even despite that, and maybe that's a good thing to some people, maybe it's good to have somebody like that on your team, Gary Trent has been a great defender this season. And, we are going to throw doubles at James Harden as well. The rotation that we're going to throw on defense is going to be something that's difficult for players like James Harden to deal with. And we're probably going to see a lot of OG Anunoby defending somebody like him as well. Siakam will switch on to him. There's going to be a lot of switchability, a lot of guys taking the reps on James Harden. It's tiring to deal with James Harden constantly, every possession defending him. So the fact that we can switch, get multiple guys trying to defend him, is going to be important here. And because, maybe there's a bit of a focus on Joel Embiid down low, if he is occupying that space down low, we'll have bodies in the paint, making it difficult for James Harden to really get any sort of entry, get to the rim, farm a lot of points out there. His shooting, if it's not on, even if it is, we can deal with it. We can get our hands up. We can make the shots difficult. It's not about stopping these guys. It's about making their lives difficult. So having good, talented one-on-one defenders all over the court, the ones we can switch on to Harden, is going to be vital for this team. Now, one thing I think that we need to work on, especially in the case of James Harden, for the duration of this series, I think our help defense hasn't quite been as good as I would have liked it to be this season. So when James Harden does inevitably on occasion blow by that first defender, let's say it is Gary Trent Jr., we got to have the help defense step up. I think Achiuwa is going to be a key factor in the series. We got to have players like him kind of move up onto James Harden. But when that happens, this is going to be important. James Harden is, I would say, the best at throwing lobs up to the big man. So the big man being Joel Embiid. If Achiuwa's on Embiid down low, Achiuwa's in there with the help defense on James Harden, we really need to have somebody kind of fall in and defend Joel Embiid. And when Pascal Siakam, I would say more likely the guy, let's just say, for example, Siakam. When Siakam is the player that falls back to defend Joel Embiid, as Precious Achiuwa switches off to defend James Harden, Siakam wants to counter the lob. As soon as that happens, James Harden, an underrated passer, a very good passer, can fire it into the corner for players like Thibault, as long as the game is in Philly. Niang, Maxey, the list does go on there. You have to rotate. So the first player that James Harden beats, let's say Gary Trent. As soon as Gary Trent gets beaten by James Harden, he's got to react to where that pass wants to go. A lot of times it is going to be the corner. You have to react, get out to the corner, defend that, because James Harden is going to find that pass a lot. So it's going to be difficult to maintain that sort of focus, knowing exactly where you need to be on the court for every possession over a 48-minute game 7 times if the series does go to distance, whatever it may be, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. You have to keep that focus all the time. That's just realistically not going to happen. But what can happen and what should happen here for the Raptors is doing it enough to just disrupt plays enough to maybe have the edge in some games, especially home games where you have the crowd behind you. Those are going to be vital, super important to the Raptors. So again, it's not about just stopping guys. It's not about stopping Joel Embiid from doing anything. It's about making it difficult every single play, making them work for their baskets every single play, wearing them down, frustrating them. That is how the Raptors can win this series. That is how the Raptors can stop Joel Embiid and James Harden in this series to a degree. Raptors are good enough that we don't need to completely flat out stop in order to win the games. And this season was proof of that. We played the Sixers 4 times. We beat them 3 of those times. When Joel Embiid is playing, we still have a winning record. So the Raptors, I think they match up very well against the Philadelphia 76ers. And if they can play some solid defense, that is how they're going to win this series. This is going to come down to defense for the Raptors. If they want to win this series, and I'm sure they are going to understand this. I'm sure Nick Nurse understands it with his defense-first mentality, defense-first approach to the game. If the Raptors come out and are focused and doing their job defensively, and I'm sure in practice right now, they are drilling these sort of mindsets into the players. If they can execute this effectively, efficiently, over the course of this entire series, they have a wonderful opportunity to be successful. There was a ton of pressure on the 76ers. The way they traded a lot of their assets to get James Harden, you really do need to feel like they're in championship or bust situations every single season. And in this trust the process era, they've never even made a conference final. I would say if Philly make a conference final, that organization should be happy with the way the season gone, had tried to build on that for next season. But they have a lot of pressure on them, and they know, the fans know, the players know that this is not going to be an easy series. They're nervous. Raptors fans, we're feeling good. We lose this series, it's still been a phenomenal season. We obviously want to win, but the pressure, the weight on our shoulders isn't there like it is for the 76ers. So, a lot of factors benefit the Raptors. Can they execute often enough to get the win in the series? I think they can. So, do you think the Raptors have it in them to stop James Harden and Joel Embiid enough to win this series? Let's start that discussion down in the comments below, because that is it for me for today. Thanks so much for watching this video. Please drop a like if you did enjoy. It goes a long way to supporting the channel. Let's hit 200 likes on this video, and make sure you are subscribed to AmateurHour Sports for the greatest coverage and analysis on the latest Toronto Raptors news, and you can help me on my road to 9,000 subs on this channel. Check out Betstamp with code RAPS. Start maximizing your wagers, and join our Discord to continue the conversation about the Raptors off of YouTube as well. I'll see you again next time for another video.